Everybody, it's Erica from In the Company of Cards. So a little later than my usual time, but the day kind of got away from me. I've been busy, but I didn't want to not come on. Um, Welcome if you're new. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. If you haven't done it already, please do uh, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, I'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up and share. So this will be quick because it's late in the day. I was going to look at uh, Trump's trip to the UK, but we already know that he's been humiliated, and uh, the public has made themselves very clear on how they feel about him. So, it's also true that the UK would like to um, get as many concessions out of him as they can, and they understand what the rest of the world understands, which is that if you flatter him, you get farther. He loves the royal family. He loves the idea of royalty. Um, so, there's all the pomp and circumstance. No red carpet for him, which is great. Happy about that. But, hmm, uh, I would like to look for a second at Cash Patel. I don't know if you saw Jasmine Crockett give him a dressing down. She didn't even ask him a question. She just tore him up. At any rate, it was ugly on the Senate side. It was ugly for him on the House side as well. And I just, I do feel as though he will be fired soon. But what I'm curious about is whether his performance in the House and in the Senate will hasten that day when he is fired. So we'll use the younger man for him, and let's see whether um, Kash Patel is on his way out the door. So I think he is, but you're not here for my opinion. So let's see what the cards say. Okay, so we're looking for the younger man. That will stand for Kash Patel. He did not acquit himself well in those hearings. Okay, so here he is. Okay, so the cards are the ship, the letter. This is Patel, stands for the young women. Well, the women, who were abused by Epstein and company, and then the tower. So I didn't draw cards on everything. Um, I will just say that the issue about the Epstein files will continue to move forward. Doesn't matter what happened to anybody, meaning Kirk or anybody else. This is still at the top of mind. So it's still moving along. Uh, we've got Patel kind of sandwiched in the middle between the files and the women. So he's being squeezed. And I think he feels like a man alone. Um, because for all his bluster about the files and insisting that 47's name was in the files, now he doesn't want to talk about it. So I think he's feeling like a man alone. Uh, Here he is, and I pulled cards on him. We have fish, we have anchor, and we have the star. He is clearly unhinged emotionally, entertainment purposes only, and allegedly. That's how he seemed. Very emotional. This is the card for emotion. And he's just Stuck in one gear. Um, what files? What do you mean? I don't know anything about it. He's stuck because his boss, 47, does not want anything disclosed. So he's really worried about his future, as he should be. Here are the women, and the clarifiers are the book, the clover, and the tree. So this is the women and their claims. This is him claiming not to know anything about anything, even though he originally said he knew everything about everything. Now he's saying, I don't know anything about anything. Um, you know, clover and tree, in a lot of ways, these cards are opposites. This one's fast and this one's slow. So I think that he is has sort of self-immolated really quickly with his performance, certainly in Congress. This happened fast, but I think that his um, leaving is going to be slow because 47 is going to have to replace him with someone. Now we already know someone has been put in place to kind of babysit Bongino, but he's also babysitting Patel. So this just feels like a very slow card, despite him how quickly he just flamed out in Congress. Again, I do think that he feels alone. Anybody who goes in front of a congressional committee, any member of this administration, knows that they're performing for an audience of one, and the audience showed up. It's 47. 47 has his doubts now about Patel. Clouds are about doubts. And the final card is the key, and we know that the key answers questions. The key is that, Patel is out there on a limb by himself, and I can mirror the key with the ship. So it may not be this week, it may not be next week, but I would say soon, or as the old black people like to say, soon and very soon, um, Patel will be gone, fired. Yeah. Okay. So I also wanted to look at, or just glance briefly, at the text messages between Tyler Robinson and his um, roommate, with whom he seems to have been romantically involved. And I will say, before I heard any commentary about these text messages, even I said to myself, is this how this generation uses text messaging? I don't think so. They tend to talk very much in shorthand. Their grammar is not top of mind. Um, the bytes are brief, the way that they talk in text messaging. I mean, they laugh at boomers because boomers are all about, spelling, grammar, punctuation, complete sentences, and all of that. And younger generations don't tend to use that kind of style of writing in text messaging. I mean, they just don't. And I thought the text messaging sounded almost kind of archaic. Archaic meaning someone of a different generation, like a boomer, did it, or even a Gen Xer did it. Um, there was so much detail for somebody that's on the run, as Tyler Robinson was at the time when these messages were supposedly sent. They're very meandering and detailed and speculative about this, that, and the other, which and flowery kind of. And so, hmm, you know, there's so much you can put it together with and say, is this, was this a lone actor? I don't think so. I really, truly, I do not think so. And I think that they're trying to create a paper trail now to make the case that it was a lone actor. Now, the thing is, part of me says, oh, you shouldn't look at this, Erica, because in fact, when this case goes to um, court, there will be, there's evidence. There will have to be evidence. And the evidence will show a lot more than we know now about things like these text messages, the chain of command, the chain of evidence. That's what I mean, the chain of evidence for the gun broken down and then not broken down, and fingerprints and clothing and text messaging, etc. I think that evidence, cold hard evidence will have to be shown. And if some of this stuff proves not to pass the smell test for evidence, well, then we'll have our answer. But I just want to ask a question about the text messages. Did Tyler Robinson write those text messages? Or were they fabricated? So I guess what I'm going to ask is, what can Spirit tell me about the text messages? Now, texting is, it's true that it's a online kind of thing. So I could use the star because that's for anything like online, social media, that kind of thing. But I think instead, because the language is so archaic, just not Gen X, a Gen Z at all. Not Gen Z, not Gen Alpha, not at all. It's way more Boomer or Gen X. So I want to use the letter, and I want to, and that will stand for the text messages, and I want to see what the cards want to tell me about the text messages. I'm not even going to ask a specific question about them. I'm just going to see what there is to know about them. Okay. So remember, we're looking for the letter. Okay. So we have the whip, we have the mice, we have the letter, we have the stork, and we have the fox. So here's what I think. First of all, the whip. Now, nobody likes a whip, except sometimes we like a whip because one of the meanings of this card is the writer. It's for writing. Um, it's the card for the writer, it's the card for the athlete. And why would that be? Because anything that takes discipline, if you want to be in the Olympics, you can't just like sit on your couch and eat Oreos and say, I'm going to be in the Olympics. You have to go to the track or the gym or the whatever it is. You've got to show discipline. This is the card of discipline. So you have to work out. If you are a writer, you can't just sit there with a pipe and some leather patches on your tweed jacket if you're a guy and say, "Whew, I'm a writer." You have to write. So you have to have time in the chair, right? Okay, so this is the card for the writer, but look at what I can mirror it with. The fox. I don't think, I think that either someone else wrote those text messages or they were dictated to Tyler to write. I mean, there's no way that you can miss the fact that there's something shady about the writing of these messages. They do not feel like Gen Z at all. So the fox, there's something tricky going on here. Now, the second card is the mice. The mice is also doesn't feel like a good card here. But remember what anybody who would have set this killing up is trying to do. Um, they're trying to make it seem a certain way. So it looks any number of ways. There's been many, many zillions of theories about that, out there. Was it a foreign actor? Was it Russia? Was it Israel? Was it what? Is it internal fighting amongst MAGA people? Is it what's that other theory that it's a liberal, whatever. That one is so stupid, it's not even worth mentioning. But there's fear and anxiety and worry attached to these texts, which makes me again feel like they were made to create an impression. The stork is about positive change. If they think the story is one thing, whoever fabricated this whole thing wants it to look like something else. They want to change the narrative. They want the narrative to be that it was a lone actor who, for his own odd reasons, did this deed. But there's just, again, I am not a conspiracy theorist. Everybody says that, and then they spout a conspiracy theory. So I hope I'm not sounding like that. But I don't like the fact that the card for the writer, I see orbs flashing in the room. I don't know if you've noticed. The card for writer is mirrored by a bad actor. So, you know what? Let me pull a couple of clarifiers. One for the writing card, and then one for the bad actor. And then I think probably in the middle, scythe. Okay, so for the writing card, I have the house, the star, and the ring. So again, it's meant to give the text messages in the way that they're written are meant to give the impression that this is just like a domestic conversation between two roommates or lovers or whatever, friends. Just a domestic thing. Um, so that moving forward, as this case progresses, they've sort of made the case that, yeah, it's all internal. It was just this one guy, and that's all it was, and nothing else. Um, it's sort of to close the loop. Okay. Now, I didn't draw on the mice, and I think I should. So, for the mice, the cards are the bouquet, the young man, and the crossroads. So people are scared, if it is some sort of conspiracy kind of a thing, nobody wants that out. So they pick somebody who they think has a gift with words, somebody who prides themselves on writing um, text messages that seem plausible, because this is the card for performing in visual arts. And I'll tell you something, those texts they were like a performance. And I think that whoever wrote them was trying to sound like a young Gen Zer to move people from thinking one thing to making them think the other so that the circle is closed. They kind of square the circle. They close up the circle by saying, oh, you thought it was, a conspiracy thing. No, it's just a guy, and he's writing in this loving, verbose, formal, stilted, kind of even detailed way when he's on the run, mind you, to his paramour. I, Crossroads makes me think again, it's to throw people off the scent of what really um, was the cause of all of this. So here we have the texts, and then we have the scythe, yeah, the child and the fish. Yeah, I think a decision was made. Decision is the site to create these texts to make it seem like they were from a young person who has sort of heightened emotions. My love, he says at one point to his roommate. So I really feel like it's somebody, I think, I mean, look, I'm just a card reader. I am not a forensic anything. But I think that it feels like someone trying to seem like a Gen Zer and failing miserably, let me just add. Uh, and then I drew clarifiers on this fox because it's very shady that we have that whip um, mirroring this fox. And look, we have the bear, young woman, and the garden. In fact, it just feels very much like someone could have been told to do this. This is like a boss. But I have to say that the messages felt a woman could have written them. And what they were for is public consumption. These texts, whoever wrote them knew that they would see the light of day, intended for them to see the light of day, and not just by Tyler's roommate, but by the public. And look, they're written for the public. I mean, I don't think they worked because of all the reasons that I'm giving you, that they don't seem like a Gen Zer. Um, but they were written to make an impression on the public. I don't know. You know, we will know in the fullness of time when the trial happens and we see the evidence and um, you know, Pluto and Aquarius, everything that is fake in the end will fall apart. And I just feel like there's something fake about this. But I'm just a card reader, so don't take this to the bank. Um, just as I was going to go on, I saw that Jimmy Kimmel had been fired by ABC and the Disney Corporation for something that he said that was incredibly innocuous, I thought. Um, what did he say? Let me see if I can find it quickly. I will. Um, okay, let's just see. So I'm looking at the New York Times, and what did he say? Oh, you're not telling me. Well, okay, New York Times. His show has been what they call preempted for the foreseeable future. Um, I'm just looking quickly. No, I'm only hearing what the corporation that fired him has to say. Oh, here it is. Okay, apparently during a monologue on his Monday program, um, he said, okay, here's the quote. He said, MAGA supporters are desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. Where's the lie? There's no lie there. And yet he got fired. We saw that Pam Bondi took heat from both the right and the left for saying that anybody who says anything against Kirk would be punished, in the form of being doxxed, fired, told on, exposed. Um, so this is very McCarthy-like. Speaking of Arthur Miller and the Crucible, as I did yesterday or day before. So I would like to know, um, well, I think the answer to this, to my question, I think I know it, but what I'd like to know is, I always get asked all the time, when will this be over? And uh, spirit doesn't work according to a calendar or a watch. So it'll be over when everybody's decided that it's time for it to be over. It'll be over when the fever breaks. The fever has not broken yet. The fever is only rising. So will 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 the First Amendment be um, formally um, redone, rewritten, or eliminated? What will happen to the First Amendment? Because all of these firings, all this doxing and all that, it's illegal. It's against the law. But then again, when things go up to the Supreme Court, that Supreme Court is not very supreme of late. Uh, so I just want to know what's going to happen with the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. What will happen with First Amendment rights? Um, I think I'll use the letter again. This time it stands for the Constitution, that document, but only for that First Amendment in the Constitution. Okay, so we're looking for the letter. Okay, so this is First Amendment rights. Okay, so we have the dog, the bear, First Amendment, mice, mice, fish, and Lily. So I am going to just say that, even though here's our second card, uh, you've got 47 and his administration, meaning Pam Bondi, what's that bald-headed man, Miller, all of them trying to abridge our rights in this very aggressive, assertive way. They're coming from this super emotional place that is not based in law. It is just not based in law. Now, that's cold comfort when you've lost your job, but it's to say that chances of you being either reinstated or compensated are very high, um, because we have lawyers. And eventually, in the fullness of time, whenever that is, don't ask me when, I don't know, all of this will calm down, cooler heads will prevail, and the First Amendment will remain intact. But you know, we've got a ways to go. This is not going to be over tomorrow. It's not going to be over next week, next month. Uh, it won't be over until, a few other things need to happen first, if you know what I mean. The other thing I thought I would look at today is the 17th. So we're getting very close to the end of the month when we could have a shutdown. Um, or another CR, continuing resolution. So I just want to know, will there be a government shutdown? Um, I think that the card that I want to use for a shutdown is the coffin, because you know how you close the lid? Will there be a government shutdown? Um, Remember last time that Chuck Schumer prevented that from happening? Will he have seen the error of his ways? I mean, nobody likes a government shutdown. Obviously, it is, to put it nicely, inconvenient. But it is a weapon that we have. It's a tool, an instrument. How about that? It's an instrument that we have, one of the very few, to curb this president and his administration. So um, we're looking for the coffin, and that will stand for a shutdown. Boy, I was going to say it's deep in the deck. There it is. Oh, and look what comes right before it. Government tower. Okay. So this would happen like the 30th, around the 30th of September, 1st of October, if it happens. We have the scythe, the tower, the coffin that I have chosen to stand for a government shutdown. We have the child card, and we have the dog. So I'm going to say that there will be a decision um, by the government to shut it down. The hope is that it's a short shutdown, that it's not for a long time. Child can be short. Um, and then, there'll be all kinds of arguments on the floor, back and forth, by people who do that, by the politicians. Um, so I pulled cards on the shutdown itself, and I have the ring, the ship, and I'll hold off on the third card. But so this is the shutdown. It could go on for some considerable time, I suspect. The last time I looked at this, I also saw there was a shutdown, but that it would be short-lived. But with the snake, it moving forward, uh, there are problems attached to it moving forward, meaning the CR, the budget being approved. Um, I think this will be more of a fight than it was last time. Uh, Fourth card is the child card, and we've got the bouquet, the whip, and the rider. Uh, there will be new arguments made, I think, over spending and what money does and doesn't go where. This is for arguments, and this is spending. This is where money gets allocated. There will be a lot of arguing about that. And then finally, we have the lawmakers, standing up and arguing back and forth. The lily and the stork, and I like this. This is cooler heads prevailing. This is peace and calm. This is positive change. But the last clarifier is clouds. So it's questionable whether there will be a meeting of the minds here. Maybe this is the thing that will bring everything to a head. Maybe this is the thing that will make people who are starting to say, I don't really know if he's as good a president as I thought he would be. But maybe this will wake them up if we have an actual shutdown. I don't think Democrats will be blamed for that. I can mirror this scythe, these clouds with the scythe. And if they were reversed, I would say that the clouds are cut through by the scythe, but that's not how they appear. They appear like this. So this is things having to be cut that 47 wants, and some real changes being made, but then here he is not wanting to do that. Clouds. So I would prepare for a government shutdown of, uh, I suspect, some duration. This would be finally a way to fight fire with fire. Again, don't get me wrong, nobody likes a shutdown. Just like nobody likes an assassination, nobody likes that. So I'm not advocating one way or the other for a shutdown. I'm saying that I suspect there will be one because I think it's become abundantly clear to the Democrats who are slow to pick it up that they have very few weapons available to them, tools, instruments, and that's a big one. Uh, so I guess that's it for now. Tomorrow I will be not here. I'll be writing over on Substack. So if you haven't joined me there, Substack is a community of writers and great writing. And I write there once a week and I use my cards. I use Lenormand or Lenormand, however you want to say it. I use tarot and I also use the Adinkra, which is an African oracle. And Spirit has me pull cards, and then I have these cards sort of sit together and come to some sort of consensus about what message they want to bring me, and then I write it. So it's called In the Company of Cards, just like this channel is called. It's free to read for now. So I hope you'll join me over there. Thank you so much for all your comments. I read them all. Thank you so much for the support of the channel. I got a very funny comment the other day. I think it was a compliment. I'm going to take it as a compliment. The person said that I reminded them of a hobbit. Um, Hobbits are wise. I guess I'm hoping that's what they mean. I don't, do I look like a hobbit? I don't know. Um, anyway, I thought it was very cute. But anyway, thank you for your many kindnesses. Thank you for having conversations amongst yourselves in the comment section that are respectful and civil. And thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Um, Hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I'm back. But I will be back again on Thursday. So I'll see you then. Take care.